I'm not going to show you any PowerPoint presentation. I'm also not going to talk about some algorithms and theories and a lot of stuff that you might have read in your college. I'm going to be telling you a story, a true story, called Battle of Rezang. Now, before I do that, I want to ask you, how many of you have heard of the Battle of Rezang? Please raise your hands. 1, 2. Anyone else? Young students? Young people? No. Okay, so here is a story in brief. The year was 1962. The date was 18th November. There were 120 Indian soldiers sitting at 18,000 feet in minus 24 degrees centigrade, waiting for the Chinese troops to attack. There were 5,000 Chinese troops that these people had to fight. The Chinese troops had better weapons. They had better clothes to protect themselves from the cold. The Indian troops were not only less in number, they also had outdated World War II weapons, very poor standard of clothing, and yet they were given this job of defending a pass called Rezang, which lies in Ladakh district. You know where is Ladakh at least, all of you? Right? Now these people, these 120 soldiers of Charlie Company of 13 Kumaon Battalion, were all not from the hilly areas. They were all from the plains. They were from Haryana, they were from Rajasthan, and they were from Uttar Pradesh. Their brigadier, Brigadier Raina, who was the brigade commander, who became the chief of army staff around 10 years later, he sent a message to these 120 people that when your weapons, when your ammunition gets over, you please come back. You leave the territory and come back because you cannot fight an enemy with no weapons, no ammunition, right? In army, this is known as organized retreat. Come back, have more ammunition, find a more strategic spot, and then start fighting. Now, here is what these 120 soldiers did. They decided not to take a single step back. They wanted to stop 5,000 Chinese with just 110 people. And you know what happened? What was the result? They succeeded in stopping them. 110 of them laid down their lives. 2 of them were my blood relatives. It has been paining me for 50 years. I'm 53 years old. It has been paining me ever since I've understood. I mean, I got my senses from 12 or 13 years old. So for the last 40 years, it used to pain me immensely that nobody in India knows about the valor of these 120 men. That is Battle of Rezang all about. How did they do this? They did this by courage, by planning, by training, by better strategies, by becoming a cohesive, cooperative unit. Let me share with you some statistics. Charlie Company of 13 Kumaon is the most decorated companies of Indian Army till date. Out of 120 people, 1 got Param Vir Chakra. You know what is Param Vir Chakra? The highest gallantry award in India. 8 were awarded Vir Chakras. 4 were awarded Sena medals. 1 mentioned in dispatches. And today, Charlie Company of 13 Kumaon is called as the Rezang Company. Now the question is, why don't we know about this? Now I'm not a political person and I don't want to make this political. I just want to state certain facts and figures and make some statements, and it is for you to take your decision who was at fault. When in 1947, India got independence, India was a very poor country. When the Britishers in 1857, they took over from East India Company, the GDP share of India in the world GDP was around 24-25%. But by the time the Britishers left, the GDP of India in the whole world was only 2%. Now, the party that came to power in 1947 had two options: remove poverty or strengthen the military. Today, in hindsight, we can blame them. But the Prime Minister of that time took a decision to remove poverty. In 1949, the current party that rules China came to power in Beijing. It was called Peking at that time. And they were exactly in the same situation as India. It was a poor country, and they had to take a call whether to remove poverty or to strengthen the military. China took a call to strengthen the military. Millions died of poverty and famine in China. In India, millions did not die due to poverty and famine. Less number, much lesser in comparison to China. But we neglected our army. Why did we do that? We did that because after Second World War, the whole world had taken a kind of resolve that countries will live in peace. United Nations is there now, and countries will not go to war with each other. So India was confident that first let us remove the poverty, and then we will see what is to be done in defense or not. In fact, Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru at that time made a very controversial statement, which is mentioned in the book also, when he said, we don't need army, scrap the army, police is enough. Because that was the mindset of that time. Today we can blame, but that was the fact. Because our army had World War II weapons, our soldiers did not have even automatic weapons. The coat parka, which you wear in winter, the coat which is given to you, was so poor quality that it was not possible for them to stand outside their trenches and bunkers in minus 24 degrees centigrade. The gloves which were given to them were of such inferior quality that when you put your finger inside the trigger guard of any weapon, to fire a weapon, you have to put your finger in the trigger guard. The glove is such poor quality and thick that your finger will not go inside. So what will you do? You remove the glove. When you remove the glove in minus 24 degrees, you know what happens? The trigger is metal and this is skin. It sticks to it. It becomes one. And you can never remove your finger now. It only has to be cut and removed. But our soldiers removed the gloves and put their fingers there and fought. Now the story does not end here. After 110 people who sacrificed their lives out of 120, when they came back, the remaining, so let me give you an account of the numbers. Out of 120, 110 laid down their lives. Out of 10, 6 were taken as prisoner of war by China. And 4 were able to, in very bad condition, they were able to reach back to the battalion. Because the company commander called these 3-4 people who were still okay, and company commander knew that he's going to die in a few minutes, but he knew that these people might survive. So he said, go down the hill to the platoon, to the battalion commander, Lieutenant Colonel Dhingra, and tell him that this is how our company has fought. So he sent these people to the battalion headquarters. But tragically what happened? When these people went to their bosses, these survivors, and told them, this is how we fought, the bosses said, no, you are lying. It is not possible. It is not possible for 110 people to defend their territory where enemy are 5,000 in number. So these people said, later on we came to know that 1,300 Chinese soldiers had died. We had lost only 110. That is the unofficial record, Indian Army record. But China has agreed to 500 people dying in that battle. 500, that's the official count, by just these 110, 120 people. But God is there, no? So I'm talking about 18th November 1962. In February 1963, Indian Army had already rejected these young boys who had come, the Sipais, saying that this is how we fought. So India was not even knowing about this battle, the valor of these people, that they succeeded in stopping the Chinese. A shepherd, you know what is a shepherd? Gadaria, the person who takes his livestock for grazing. So one local Ladakhi shepherd was roaming in that area. He came to Rezangla. He wanted to know whether the ice is melted or not, whether I can bring my animals now. Is this the right time? Is winter behind us, etc. And when he came there, his feet froze because he saw 110 people in front of him with their guns still in their bunker. Some are crouching, some are just outside the bunker with a bayonet strike. Because Mother Nature had frozen the entire war scene exactly the way it was. Not even one soldier had taken a bullet in his back. Every soldier had taken a bullet on their chest. Everybody had dozens and dozens of bullets. But they were frozen and they were standing there. So he ran and told the army office there, and the news reached Delhi. And Brigadier Rana, who was the brigade commander, he was sent there along with Red Cross and media. And they went there, and then they saw these brave Indian heroes still standing there with their guns. Photography was done, and that is the first time that Indian Army came to know about this brave account. But still we don't know. Why we don't know? Because India lost the 1962 war. It was only one bright spark was Rezangla. And by that time, government had already decided to move on, to strengthen the army, to make our country stronger and more secure and our borders less porous, so that this cannot be repeated. And the Indians forgot about this battle because nobody wanted to talk about 62. Very soon in 1965, Pakistan attacked India. What happened? By this time, in 3 years, at a very fast pace, India had got ready. We gave them a bloody nose. Then 71 happened. India fought another war. And we won that war, right? So everybody in India is only talking about 1965 and 1971. In this process, everybody forgot about Rezangla. Now, as a child, I did my schooling from Chandigarh. My father was in the Air Force. So when in summer vacation, when we used to go on chutti to my village in Haryana, with the place that I belong to, in my village, women used to sing songs of valor, of Charlie Company, right? And I used to get really goosebumps. I'm getting goosebumps now about the valor of my forefathers. And I used to come to the school and talk to my friends. This is what happened in Rezangla. And they used to look at me and say, what is Rezangla? And then thereafter I went to college. My father got posted to Pune. So yes, I've also studied in Maharashtra. So one thing common between us, in Nauroji Wadia College for 3 years, where I did my graduation. In Wadia College, I used to go and tell my friends, this is what happened in Rezangla. And they used to say, what is Rezangla? And then by the time I thought, okay, India is a very large country. It's okay. Doesn't matter because so many wars have been fought, so many things have happened. But when I went to the Naval Officers Academy, and there I found no book on Rezangla even in the library there. And subsequently for 23 years that I interacted with officers and men in every forum and every function, every party, every seminar, I used to raise this question of Rezangla, and nobody had heard of Rezangla. And that is when I took a call 2.5 years ago that if someone has to write a book on their bravery and give the true tribute to these soldiers, it should be me. When I broke this news to some of my senior defense officer friends, they just said it is not possible. You cannot write a full book on one night battle, right? You need more material. You can maximum write a chapter. I said, no, I'm going to do everything that I can to write a full book. I was myself not very confident. I started researching. I've got a very long preface in this book of how I started the process, whom all I met, where all I faced rejections, and how finally I was able to put this. It is not a very big book. It's just about 178 pages with pictures, 8 pages of pictures, and otherwise all simple text. When the book has come out now, 20th September, the book was released, the kind of response I'm getting from people who are not even related to me, not even known to me, is phenomenal. I've got IAS officers and IPS officers, doctors and engineers and defense officers themselves, and a lot of unknown young students. If you see my social media on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, the kind of activity that has happened ever since this book has come is probably 50 times or 100 times more than my earlier books. Because people have realized what this battle was. Why should you know about this battle? You should know about this battle because as Indian, you should know what our ancestors have done and what price they have paid so that we value our freedom more, so that we work harder, so that we do everything that we can in as far as our contribution in making a nation strong is concerned. Also, you may not join the army, that's okay. You might become whatever, engineers or professionals in your field or architecture or whatever. The lessons that you will learn from this story of man management, leadership, training, cooperativeness, time management, punctuality, change management, etc. In fact, I want to do a rejoinder. Rejoinder is the wrong word. I want to write probably another word and see how, bring out all those things that these people had unknowingly implemented, which is so useful for anybody in any domain that you might be. So this is about the Battle of Rezang. I would not like to talk more on this.
Subscribe to Nation Next YouTube channel and press the bell icon to get regular updates from Nation Next. Also like Nation Next Facebook page and follow us on Instagram and Twitter.